Hi, I'm Susan Cole.
And I'm Angelina Namiba.
Getting into nature can be really helpful. I'm meeting up with Angelina to talk about the mental health benefits of nature for women with HIV. And I'm taking one of my 2 dogs with me.
There are many ways to connect with nature, even if you live in a built-up area like I do. So I'm really looking forward to meeting up with my mate Susan for a walk in her local woods, where we'll talk about some of the things that impact on our mental well-being as women living with HIV.
I was thinking that women with HIV experience emotional distress and mental health problems probably more than the general population. Why do you think that is?
If we take the example of a woman diagnosed during pregnancy, she's having to deal with the diagnosis itself. She's having to deal with possibly going home and telling her partner or significant others about her status. She's probably worrying about starting treatment and the effect and what that will have on the baby.
Let's have a sit down on here. Wow, look at that view.
I know, it's beautiful.
So back to your question. Some women also experience intimate partner violence, and sometimes just having an HIV diagnosis makes it even worse in terms of what they experience. Some may have other children who they've had before, then they're thinking about, oh my God, I need to test my child to find out whether they're living with HIV or not. And so many other issues, housing, immigration, poverty. So given all that, even without the HIV, you're already experiencing significant issues, and then add HIV on top. It's no wonder, isn't it? You are quite affected by COVID, weren't you?
It was quite an issue for me. I was living with my mum, who's now 89, as well as teenagers. So it was like trying to juggle the emotional well-being of keeping everyone safe, as well as just working all the time. I was working really crazy hours, and I just felt like the responsibility of keeping everyone safe was really affecting my emotional well-being, and then at the same time trying to appear strong for everyone.
So how did you cope with it? What kind of helped you?
Certainly for me, getting out into nature really helped. Just having that little bit of a break, walking, really helped me. I think that nature can be really helpful in terms of people's mental health and emotional well-being.
Obviously, there are people who may not necessarily live near a park or have access to green spaces like this. What I do as well is I have lots of plants in my house.
Yeah.
I literally live in a jungle library. So for me, even just looking after the plants and seeing them thrive or not sometimes really, really helps me. Mind did a study where they show that, just being around nature can do so much for your well-being. Like you're saying, it can relieve your stress. If you're in a stressful situation, just being able to walk out of it and just walk around. When I'm in the park, I look at the different trees and I start to look at the different leaves. There's so much you can do even on your own.
Yes.
Without even being prompted. And that already takes your attention away from the stressful things that you're going through. That's just one of the things you can do. There is a connection with nature and the trees and just being around nice green space. But for some people, sometimes you can connect with other human beings.
I think for lots of people living with HIV can feel quite isolated and lonely. So going for a walk is a really good way to actually, start talking to other people, start a conversation, not feel so lonely. There has been quite a lot of research over the years that has shown that being in nature can be really beneficial to people in terms of their mental health. But also it's like, think about our physical health as well. Going to the woods and going for a walk is really good exercise for me.
It is, absolutely. And some of the parks, like where I live, in the park itself, they have like all these exercise things dotted around. So you could literally go for a walk, go for a run, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then you could just use the machines free of charge. They're in the park. Anybody can use them. So I think that's also another way that a lot of the green spaces have been made available for people who doesn't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I just prefer to have a swim once a week indoors.
You go. So I can't swim.
Yeah.
But I do go walking, and it does actually make me feel better.
Yeah.
And I must admit that quite a lot when I'm out in nature, often I have things caught in my hair, like
Got really
twigs.
curly hair though.
There's often it's like twigs caught in my hair, insects. Sometimes that's one of the downsides. I like nature. I don't really like bugs. And then another benefit of actually connecting with nature is sometimes just like the physical touch of doing things, you know, like when you are gardening and feeling the soil and then actually like I don't know, like touching the grass, hugging a tree.
I do love to hug a tree.
You're gonna have to give that a go.
Shall we go hug some trees?
Yeah, let's go.
Some trees.
Lovely.
Hug the tree.
The tree is oozing. I think you need a tissue tree.
Let's try this one. This one is also nice.
Okay, is this one not an oozy tree? It's got bugs.
It's fine. Hug it. Hug it with meaning and feeling.
Nice tree. You know how you don't like to touch dogs?
This is your
Yeah, look at this.
Nice
Look at
tree,
this
nice
nice
dog.
tree. Nice tree. Also, feeling the earth. Do you feel more relaxed?
It does actually feel different.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's quite cool.
it's lovely.
Sometimes, you know, we live in built up inner city areas and there's no gardens.
Yeah.
The green spaces are far away. But it's just about looking at what is around you.
Yeah.
But even in some of the local parks, they have, like, councils have things like you can organize park runs or
Yeah.
park walks or things like yoga and stuff. I think it's just looking around your area to see what is there for. And then a lot of it is free. During the lockdown, because I was really quite unwell as well. So my local GP organizes, you know, things like a group whereby you can, you know, be healthy together.
Yeah.
And so they used to organize walks we'd go to different parks. We just a group of us, not very well, but we walk very slowly to different parks.
How did it affect your emotional well-being when you were ill? Because you were in hospital for quite a while.
Yeah, I was in hospital. I went in just for a really simple one-day surgery, and I ended up staying as an inpatient for 6 months. So firstly, it was quite unexpected, but also just being in the hospital on a hospital bed for 6 months. I had an NG tube and had to wear a collar for my neck. That was quite challenging. You know, it took quite a toll, but I just found ways to cope with it. And one of the things I actually did was to limit the number of visitors I was having.
I remember it caused us a lot of upset. As someone that kept wanting to visit you all the time.
Yeah, because I could just about cope with what I was going
Yeah.
through, and I couldn't cope with other people's anxieties. I know my friends meant well, a lot of them, and some probably still don't speak to me now today because they couldn't come in or came in once and couldn't come in again. But for me, I could just about cope with what I was going through. I didn't want to answer people's questions. I didn't want to deal with the anxieties because I didn't know what was happening. And so, and being in there, being so unwell, it did affect me quite a bit. And at one point, they did offer me antidepressants.
Yeah.
I took them for a couple of days, but I said no because I knew I wasn't necessarily depressed, but I was low. I mean, you would be if you're in a hospital bed for nearly 6 months. And so, but yeah, and turned my phone off on silent. These are the ways I coped with it. And my phone has been on silent since 2019. And I keep it like that because it helped me to not have to hear the noise of the phone, to not have to respond to things. Even now, when people call me, I will respond, but I'll send a text. And I only speak if I need to speak to people, just because it keeps me sane that way.
Yeah.
And it helped me to cope with it. Everything was very overwhelming. So that's how I coped, and that's how I still cope. Yeah.
Well, that's really good. And I think in times like that, self-care can be really difficult. But I know particularly for women, particularly for Black women, you know, we constantly are taking care of other people, and people talk about Black women being strong. It's not that we're choosing to be strong, but it's just we don't have
a choice. You don't have much of a choice, and you're always taking care of other people. And it's so important to find a way to put yourself first, because nobody else can look after your mental health or your mental well-being. Only you can do it. And by looking after yourself, it means then you're well enough to then look after other people.
For me, when I had breast cancer, that was a really difficult time for me. They found that I had triple negative breast cancer, which was one of the most aggressive types, and the tumor itself was 5 centimeters.
Wow.
All around. So I think for me it was like doubly triggering, because it reminded me a bit of, you know, when I was diagnosed with HIV and I was told I only had 7 years to live, even though, like, here I am 20 plus years later.
Yeah.
But I felt like, again, I was going to die and leave my young children, and I don't think I ever really coped with the trauma of my experiences. And I think people, you know, sometimes we're so often in just like survival mode that we don't allow ourselves to sort of like stop and think about, you know, particularly as women with HIV, so many of us have been through quite traumatic experience.
And you've actually said something really important there about how you didn't stop to deal with the trauma. And sometimes it's about, oftentimes we don't even think about, we don't even know that we are going through it. And it's so important to be able to recognize that you're experiencing, whether it's severe or maybe a little bit. There are different levels of mental well-being or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important when you can recognize that I'm going through this and I need to get support for it. But I think, for like you're saying, for many of us, we're just busy surviving and doing things. And I think that's why it's so important, because some of the workshops we've done at Forum have been around recognizing when you're going through, you know, your mental well-being isn't as well as it should be, recognizing some of the signs and the symptoms, but also looking at where can you go for help, and also accepting that the help that I will get is not going to be the same as yours, because for me it might be a pill for a little while. Somebody else, it might be a talking therapy. Somebody else, it might be going for a walk in the park, you know, depending on the level. So I think it's so important that we continuously engage and enable women to understand and to recognize some of those signs that may not be so obvious.
Yeah.
And then get the help that they need, because help is out there, right?
Absolutely. And I think particularly for Black women, where we think we have to be strong, some people mistakenly believe that, you know, asking for help is
a sign of weakness.
It's a sign of weakness.
It's okay, be weak. Ask for help, because by asking for help, you'll get better and you'll be strong, right? Peer support for me is one of the things that's kept me going from the early days up to today. Just being able to speak to somebody who's either living with HIV or who's going through issues around with their mental health. I think that support, the connection, because sometimes, I mean, like I think you mentioned earlier on, whereby sometimes even admitting that you're going through mental well-being difficulties is a bit of a taboo subject, I think generally anyway. So being able to speak to somebody who's been through those issues and seeing what they did to cope can be really helpful. You don't have to talk to hundreds of people, but just maybe just that one other person can be really helpful.
And know that you're not alone as well. And then actually, you know, sometimes you could be feeling, you know, really, really low and think, oh my goodness, what's the matter with me? But then when you verbalize it and talk to someone else, and then they've been through the same thing, you can feel not so alone and actually think, you know, the way that I'm feeling is understandable because of what I might be going through in my life. And I then we spoke a bit about, you know, domestic abuse and gender-based violence, and women with HIV are disproportionately affected by that. And I think sometimes it can be embarrassing to admit that that's happening to you. And then that can lead to all sorts of emotional problems. But sometimes, you know, you could get specialist support around that issue. I know very often for Black women, sometimes, you know, when we talk about our emotional distress, you know, we're not offered help. I know Shima Tarek, brilliant doctor, did some research for the Prime study that found that Black women were more likely to experience emotional distress but less likely to be offered any kind of support.
That's really interesting. So I think this is just something that also reminds us to say, if you don't get support, look somewhere else.
If I am struggling in some ways, I get online, I find the information that I need to help, and
Absolutely.
and where I can get help really helps me.
AIDSmap has some really helpful information about HIV and mental health on its website. That also includes some great video resources and panel discussions about HIV and mental health. You can find it all on aidsmap.com.
Mind is an absolutely amazing resource. I mean, we refer a lot of women there because it's just one of those things, you don't have to look too far, right? But Mind, I have to give a shout out to them.
Mind.
They're an amazing resource.
They were brilliant. And I know that they've been talking a bit about, the importance of nature.
Yes, they have, haven't they? They give quite a nice long list, which are things that you don't even think about, but, relieving your stress, feeling grounded. Sometimes if you're angry, you go out, you feel a bit better.
Yes.
There's so many things that you can actually get just by being out in nature, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And then as well as like your physical good health, because you feel better when you exercise. You don't have to go to a gym.
No. Just a brisk walk, right? Just a brisk walk, yeah.
It helps me a great deal having the chance to get into nature and be in the woods and take in the beauty.
It is just, even just looking around now, I'm just like, yeah. It is really beautiful and calming as well.
It's calming, and it's like good for your soul.
Indeed.
Wonderful. Let's head off now.
You said there are some oak trees.
There are lots of. I know. Yeah. Tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree.
It's been
3 long years. Do you still love me?
If I don't see a ribbon
Round the old oak tree, I'll stay on the bus, forget about us, put the blame on me. If I don't see a real ribbon around the old oak tree.